All right. So the conclusion, this whole 1, 2, 3 lectures are kind of cool. It's kind of working for me. Um, and as I was retitling the second one, uh, I was just kind of, you know, having a little moment of reflection. Um, and it was the day my dad told me he likes the way my mind works. So, my dad is actually an Aquarius and he's a teacher. Um, he taught English as a second language. So, it was part of the ESL program up at the university. And he did that for his career. So, I feel a connection between, so that compliment was really important to me. And over my life, I never directly had a connection with my dad. I always felt, due to my gender orientation, that I was somehow not okay, that I was an embarrassment to the family. And then I also thought, because of my grades, I'm very like dyslexic and highly creative, very right brained. Um, I felt also I was a disgrace to the family. So I felt like every time I was going to face my father, I was facing some huge force, and it was a disapproving force, kind of like a Christian God who's distant and invisible, and the only way to, you have to win to be in their good grace. You have to win your way to heaven. You have to win time allotted. You have to be special. Like you have to earn it. So, and I feel like really that was just my thinking. So, finally, after all these years of feeling inside like a disappointment and a failure and a disgrace and whatever negative thinking I was thinking at the time, to have him say he likes the way my mind thinks was a high compliment, a sign of respect. And it really changed our relationship to get some positive feedback. And why is this part of part 3? And it's actually because I wasn't doing well in school, I went into the occult. And I said to myself, well, if I can't be a mathematician because no one has the time to sit down and show me, I can learn astrology, some basic astrology. I'll do my best at that, you know. And I really want to learn. I want to know how things work. If I can't do that, well, I'll learn how tarot works. If I can't do that, I'll kind of learn how numerology works. If I can't do that, I'll learn how meditation works. If I can't do that, and so I found that the creative outlet, the need to learn, got satiated through occult subjects. Um, and then, but then I also had the need of religious, spiritual experiences. Growing up in I would say, a very empty religious religion, Mormonism. Everyone around me was Mormonism. In a small town, everyone went to church. They were all Mormons. And it all was very empty. They talked about love, yet there was no love. It's work to earn. They talked about all these priesthood powers, yet nothing was there. Like there was like no magic. As a kid, maybe you're expecting levitation or some you're expecting some Harry Potter powers to go down. Instead, it really wasn't a lot of that, you know. So I felt like it was devoid of life, it was devoid of power, it was devoid of spiritual knowledge. it was just people gathering, like, to have a sense of community. And it wasn't like, there wasn't any higher knowledge, no higher education. So I felt like the occult really satiated that with the knowledge of the Kabbalah, you know, and then the knowledge of orbits and stars and forces working on us, creating events and our personality. That was pretty big for me. Um, but how I, but also, but working with visions and astral projection and shamanic journeys, working with magic, casting spells. So that part got all satiated. Um, Starting to learn that I get to work with forces too. It's not just some higher privileged beings. It's not just these chosen people, who are in a system, that the everyday person could have that. So that part of me got satiated, and shamanism was something that I was always interested in. So there's this backdrop of shamanism. Um, and I did, and I was curious about, and there's also a backdrop of martial arts, which opened the door to Asian spirituality, of Taoism and energy cultivation and meditation. And so I had a lot of interest that filled the void of religion. And religion was like an empty promise. And so I felt like it was hypocritical, but yet, and I felt that way even in my martial arts class. I was like, where's the spirit of martial arts, of the way? Where's the spirit of an ethical warrior? Where's the mind training? It's not just kick, punch, chop your way through a colored belt system and then kick, punch, chop your way to babysitting people all day and getting paid for it. This is not the spirit of martial arts, nor is just fighting, just sparring all day. Like, where is the spirit of martial arts was a huge question for me. I felt like the Grandmaster embodied the spirit of the martial arts. The founder of our American Western style Kempo karate system was, he like embodied the spirit of martial arts. And then his predecessor kind of didn't. And then, so it just kind of like got less and less and less down the line. So after the Grandmaster died, it was like the spirit of our whole organization kind of shifted and died as well. And there's that individual responsibility. I want to have the full martial arts experience. How am I going to infuse my martial arts? I'm going to have to meditate. I'm going to have to read. So I literally learned how to reading martial arts books and practicing meditation, learning how to read on how to meditate. So kind of back in the day, spiritual information wasn't available. You had to read it. And the beauty of it is there was no one to reinterpret that. If someone, so if in a book it said, sit up straight, no one was saying, no one was showing me it looks like this. No one was saying it feels like that. I only had my own experience. So I had some spiritual experiences. I've always had some psychic ability. So conclusion of these two last lecture pieces embodying religion's effect on spirituality and the occult is all paths are one. And we can see they're all one, yet they can be separate, and you might identify or work better with one and not the other. Don't feel bad if you're not having religious experiences and that's not what propels you to understand the mysteries. Don't feel bad if you're not very scientific, and then don't feel bad if you are. You can still get there. You can be a total, like, so I'm just saying, follow what's true for you, and also allow that polar opposite to come in, because that polar opposite is hidden. Why are all these scientists searching so hard? It's to have the religious experience. So one creates the other. So honoring both sides, honoring, and then kind of like live and let live, be you, move on. Yeah. So, but we're concluding all this was, what did I get out of the occult is got, I have a way of thinking, and it's kind of like relationship oriented. And it wasn't ABC 1, 2, 3, it was fire, water, earth, and air. And it's not exactly how to get to point A to point B. It's Saturn and Mars aligning in Aquarius, you know. So you can take the occult. So I feel like if you dive into it, you're obviously going to read books, you're going to study, and it's going to make you a better person. It's going to develop your mind to see in a certain way. So I see the way an occultist sees the world, and I can interact with it just like a chess player interacts with the world, maybe like a game of chess, and sees certain patterns and makes certain moves. And those can all be very detached, cold moves. And that's maybe how they play the stock market, or maybe that's how they play their relationships in life. And so the way I'm playing life is kind of like in an occultist's way. Those are my roadmaps, those are my shaman maps. So a traditional shaman, their maps look different. Their maps look like caves, trees, power animals, and a divided world, an underworld, a middle world, and a heavenly realm. And they dream it. And so their external maps have a relationship to their internal maps. And so the tree of life is a map. The zodiac wheel is a map. Your tarot deck is a map. And it's only as limited as you are. The artist is not limited by their tools. The artist only limits themselves, the limit of your creativity. So you get genius when you apply your creativity. So it's like, what do you get out of your tools, and how do you use your tools, and can you like transcend your tools, kind of? Can you transcend your abilities? I feel like, so I feel like in a weird way I am done with the occult. I got what I needed. I got a way to organize my mind and think in occult terms, and it was very beautiful. That was my education. That was my higher education. That's my university. That's what and I felt like that's what I developed, and that's what I can give back. But it's not the extent of me. I still have that curiosity about life. I'm still an artist first. I'm still, I still have mystical horizons that are calling my name. I still want to dive deep into psychology. So it's weird how you're at the end and you're at the beginning. And so with my psychic abilities, I've pierced through so far. And here I am. And that so far is now just the beginning, and I can't see. So it's like when you really know, you know nothing. When you really see, you realize you cannot see. when you really sense, you realize you don't sense at all. And so it's like the end is the beginning, a rebirth. Um, and it needs to be that way. And then you could also arrive, but now you're seeing with different eyes. You're a little bit older, you're a little bit wiser. You're now looking at it in a whole new way. It's like a fresh, so it's like you're working on a piece of art, you take a break, you come back to it, and it looks different. Those meaningful pauses, take a break from your workout, take a break from your yoga, take a break from your meditation, so you get an opportunity to see it with new eyes. Maybe we can't change a lot, but maybe we can learn to change our perspective, and taking a break is a really great way. Developing in other areas is a really great way. So that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, and as soon as I say develop other areas, immediately the tree of life, that cultural roadmap, I see, and I'm like, oh yeah. Once again, I'm at the heart. So, balance in all things. And the heart is the balancing of the chakra system. The heart is the balance of the tree of life. And so, it's like when you really develop. So, yeah, I've played in power, I've played in knowledge. And power and knowledge is what I've always been seeking for 40 years. And what was absent, what was out of balance, what was hidden from me was the heart, was the love, was the connection, was the life force. Like everything was so a little bit removed. There's a knowledge that comes to you when the experiences move through your body, when it moves and penetrates the core of your being. So we go to those masculine and feminine principles. You go to Joaquin and Boaz. You go to the pillar of mercy and severity. You go to the chalice and the sword, or the cup. You go to these two principles. And in order to penetrate the mysteries, you must be receptive and penetrated. In order to become male, you must become female first and receive it. Once you've received it, you know how to give it. Once you receive the knowledge, you can give the knowledge. And so you have to. So then we get the divine hermaphrodite, we get the hermetic six-pointed star, we get the alchemist star, and we get the balance. And we're moving through polarities. And so the occultist speaks in this language and understands and reads the deck this way, reads the stars this way. It's different than how a shaman and a mystic is reading. The shaman and mystic and spiritual, religious, and new ager now, they're reading it as divine omens. Blessed, cursed, positive, negative, more of the blessed, cursed realm. There's beings wanting your highest good, whether you call them aliens or angels or gods or whatever. Something is highlighted and it registers in your mind, and it's a positive chosen path. That's more like on the spiritual spectrum. The occultist is seeing it in more practical terms. It doesn't have to have that aura, that highlight on it like that. It's like, no, it's more psychological. It's more rooted. I think it's more rooted. It's more tangible. It's a little bit more objectified. So, so basically, whatever you do, it's going to affect everything you do. So if you do meditation, it's going to make you a better occultist. If you go practice a magical system, like my friend who is practicing some traditional African magic, and he's African, so he has a total right to do that, to honor himself and his ancestors and do that type of stuff. That will just make him a better occultist if he chooses to continue that. And his occult will make him a better magician. Uh, and so all these things, these three paths, can help you in your chosen path, in your favorite path, in the path that's hardest for you. It's a continuous development. It's like having this reasonability, this of the occultist behind me makes me a better scientist and also makes me a better mystic. I can come back from maybe a drug-induced mystic experience, and then I can ground it in psychology, hermetic principles, to gain another level of understanding and maybe demystify. So you can demystify things really well with the occult. And and so and and then you can, so it's just really interesting. All paths are one, and I feel like studying the occult has made me a greater person all around. And it's taken, and so in a weird way, I have fun all day. And I never thought I would get to this point in my adventure of life. Being, going through, so you have the human experience you go through. Religion doesn't save you from that. The occult doesn't save you that. The gods don't save us. We all go through adolescence. We all go through growing up and dying physically, and we mature, hopefully, and not resist it. There's pain. No spell is going to take that away, and doesn't need to. And so, but you can gain a support. So like religion kind of supports people through their life, and it acts as a support. The occult can act as a support as well. Science can act as a support. You can have all three support systems working for you. If you're just religious, you miss science as a support. You miss the occult as a support. If you're just a scientist, you miss psychology / the occult and religion as a support. Why? You don't have to eliminate. It's not a I'm all this and I'm all that. It's I get to play with both, which was kind of the beginning of it all. Being right-brained and left-brained. Being creative, artistic, that we usually associate with the feminine, and associated with the feminine is the subconscious and personal experience. Like we experience the thunder. Left brain is, it's now electricity moving through the atmosphere and a play on forces, and we might read about it. That's left brain. Versus I'm actually out there getting wet, or I'm feeling the wet sensation, and it's nostalgic, and I feel empowered. I feel like I'm a part of nature. That subjective is part of that feminine magical force. It adds a lot of power and aliveness to the experience versus that kind of left-brained thinking. The colors, like the left brain, I think, is more observational. It's a little bit removed, and then you can examine it from multi perspectives to appreciate it and savor it that way. It's a whole different mental stimulation, and to be able to work with both is the occultist, I think. It is the balance. For me, that's what it is. That's how it was presented to me on my journey. So it's not something you do. It's like it's integrated into you. I've added that to me. It makes sense to me. The occult has always made sense to me. And trying to figure it out. So I guess really that's kind of how I'm summing it all up. Um, so how I access the tarot is way different than how a New Ager accesses the tarot, or what I like to call a common person. A common person doesn't have the education. A common person practicing witchcraft is way different than someone who's educated in witchcraft practicing witchcraft, or like / professional level. So really know where you're at and know who you are. So on one level, I would be the commoner in the occult compared to some other people who are in an established scientific laboratory doing the alchemy part. And they're doing it day in and day out, and they actually have a scientific degree. So this is another real thing. What are you privileged? What type of environment are you privileged to be in? And what are the tools and resources? And then where do you tap out? How intelligent are you? That's where you tap out. How sensitive are you? That's where you tap out. And so other people tap out at higher, greater levels, like Einstein, that mind. Science, so science is part of the occult. So his level of occult knowledge in that branch, he tapped out way out there and brought us the atomic bomb, you know? So everyone has different levels. So it doesn't matter how long you've been in it, but it's definitely a mindset. It's definitely an attitude, and you have to have a talent for it, and you have limits. And so you really can't compare yourself. It's a very long road. It's more than a lifetime. It's definitely kind of a lifestyle, but that lifestyle comes out of who you are. So this is where the discrepancy really happens. People adopt a religion as a lifestyle like you choose it, and in a weird way you don't. Some people, it has to be authentic to you, and you might discover, like, so you might be attracted to it, be working in it, and then find your fins, find your wings, and then realize, oh, I was made for this. Oh, I can do this. And so you might be in an awakening phase of your journey, of this endless journey of life. And so maybe years later you discover you were it after all, you know? You weren't. And so the integration's pretty cool. Like, or the clarification, that's really not my path. Religion is not my path. The clarification, even though I love yoga and it's something I'm only going to entertain it to a certain level, the rest of it isn't my path. Working out's great, but doing that every day, being a weightlifter, that's not my path. So honor those limits, those no's in your life. No, that is not me. Like, so my friend was asking about the afterlife and spirit guides and all that. There's a part of me that goes, nope, done. Why? I'm actually formulating a new theory on how it's just revealing the matrix illusion nature of our reality, and spirits and spirit guides. Deceased ancestors never existed. They're fading out holographic images that, they're in the disintegration phase. And so they're actually proof that we live in a holographic reality and not proof of a spiritual reality.